Yes. So, are you starting to see the picture here? Deep sleep, really important. Adaptations growth occurs between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. REM sleep, equally important. Stress processing, the longer stages occurring towards the end of a night's sleep. Suddenly, you start to realize why we talk about trying to get to bed earlier on a consistent pattern and also trying to get 8+ hours of sleep. That's utopia, so that we can balance every opportunity for growth, adaptations, and repair, and also the full whack of stress processing. It starts to become pretty simple now. And so this is just information for you to have. And building off of that, let me just give you a few practical tips. There's much more than what I'm going to outline today, but at least this can get you going. Some practical steps that you can start to move yourself towards. Remember, not 365 days of every year pass and fail, great sleep every night. That's not real world. But at least moving towards 300 of those 365 days being pretty darn good. We're going to have a particular focus here on trying to improve the consistency of quality and length of deep sleep and REM every night. So the first tip, of course, is go to bed at the same time every night. There's always going to be a little plasticity, but within a 30-minute window, consistently most times, if you can go to bed at the same time, ideally before 10 p.m. for obvious reasons now, so that we can actually maximize the opportunity of deep sleep, the body loves the predictable patterns. It loves consistency. And so therefore, a regular bedtime is really valuable. And if you do get to bed before 10 p.m., well, therefore, you're going to maximize your potential for deep sleep. And therefore, with this habit, you can consider yourself a very cool kid. You can even use my mantra, nothing good happens after 10 p.m. I'm not sure if that was the original, but that's what I do now as an old man. Number 2, of course, set up your environment. It's going to help deep rejuvenation. And so, yes, there is some real credence to this, a cool and dark environment. And the reason that this is important is that helps the body get to the deep restorative state. It's easier to find those longer stages of deep sleep and rejuvenation. If the body's sweating and trying to cool down, it's just not going to be able to get into deep rejuvenation. So a cool and dark environment is optimal to help the body get that deep rest. And then, of course, on the flip side, when you wake up in the morning, kickstart your circadian rhythm. As quickly as you can, get into bright light. Now, it's summer months up here in the Northern Hemisphere, therefore ideally getting outside, a wonderful thing. Daylight, it triggers it. But if nothing else, or if you're down in the Southern Hemisphere right now, get the lights on. Tell the brain, hey, it's time to wake up. That's going to set the clock that in 12, 14, 16 hours, you're going to start to wind down again. Pretty simple stuff. Environment and timing and light management. Number 3, kitchen closes at 7 p.m. Very simple. If you want to maximize deep sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., you don't want the body at work when you're trying to get to deep sleep. In other words, you don't want the body digesting food from a big meal that's consumed right before bed. It's the habit of many people to eat dinner at 8:30, 9 p.m. And then even if they do go to bed at 10 p.m., they're just not able to get into deep sleep. And that's because the body's working. It's digesting food. So if we bring that large major meal back and we start to eat it at least 2, but hopefully more like 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, you're going to clear the digestion and then you're going to get into deep sleep in a better way. Now, it doesn't mean 0 calories. If you are training heavily, you can consume a little bit of protein like a Greek yogurt right before bed. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not going to really have a massive impact. I'm talking about the big meal, your primary dinner. Have that at least 3 hours before you go to bed. It makes sense. We don't want the body working while we're trying to get it to actually rest and recuperate. Tip number 4, don't sabotage yourself. These I'm talking about here are things that you do that are going to directly impact the quality of your sleep, the length of your deep sleep, and of course your REM. Now, there's a couple of simple things here that tend to sabotage people's quality of sleep. Number one, too much alcohol. Number two, afternoon caffeine. We don't want the body under stress. Alcohol tends to have a lot of sugar. It absolutely disrupts sleep quality. And so if you are going to choose to have alcohol, particularly in the week when you're looking to get up for work or training the next day, if you are going to have it, make sure you have it well early enough. 4, 5, 6 p.m., not 8, 9, 10 p.m. before bed. Because at least that way the body can process it and you can come down to get good quality sleep. More than one drink, well, it's going to disrupt your sleep. It's a choice that you have to make, but it will. And then afternoon caffeine, we have to remember that caffeine has a half-life of about 8 hours. So what a half-life is once I drink that cup of coffee, for example, it's going to take about 8 hours until it totally leaves the body and there's no impact. So if I'm having a cup of coffee at 4 p.m. and then going to bed at 9 or 10 p.m., I'm going to have a hard time getting into deep sleep because the body is still feeling the impact of that caffeine, which is, of course, a stimulant. And so that's some of the context behind that recommendation. And then finally, tip number 5, build a wind-down routine. Now, there are a couple of things that you can do here that really, really help if you can just glide your way. I like to call it landing the plane really smooth. The first, if you're busy and time-starved, particularly if you're a working professional or a leader, it's really valuable to map your following day before you go to bed. We talk a lot on this show about the Sunday special, mapping the week. But quite often before you go to bed, just spending 10 or 15 minutes thinking about the next day, what you're going to get done, writing it down, it gives you a sense of control. It actually reduces anxiety, and it's a really good practice. Quite often when you've gone through and you've mapped your day, it's much less likely that at 1 o'clock in the morning you're going to wake up with a stress dream. Oh my God, I need to remember to do this tomorrow. You can just stay calm and allow yourself to wind down. The second component is a really good recommendation. Read a book right before bed. Now, I much prefer the books before bed to be unrelated to anything in your professional life. Instead, allow it to be a transitional time, a time that you're just giving it a little bit of brain candy. In other words, turning the brain down and removing it from the demands that you have in your life. An example, mine, Scandinavian crime thriller. Takes me a while to read a book, a couple of months, because I lay down, I read 5, 10, 15 minutes, eyes are drowsy, and I'm off to sleep. But at least it helps me shut my brain down from all of my competing demands. Now, I should point out, it's not all Scandinavian crime thriller. I've got a broader range. I'm not immune from a really crap ex-CIA agent who's now become a disgruntled warrior out there for vengeance, or any of the things like that. I know, it's pretty rubbish, but it does serve as that nice brain candy. There's a lot more to these recommendations and tips, but I hope that that helps you join the dots between what's going on and why we're recommending these components to try and at least build good habits. It's a good starting point. Go to bed at a regular time, hopefully before 10 p.m. Avoid your caffeine and your alcohol as much as possible. Set your environment up. Have a wind down protocol. It's all going to help you. And then, of course, on the nights that you can, if you really want to show up the next day, at least 7, but hopefully 8 hours. That's when you're going to process all the stress, optimize your ability to bring your best the next day. With information processing, clarity of thinking, ability to focus, you're going to be more productive the next day. One more word. All of the latest research, a surprising find. And that's that screens before bed do not disrupt sleep. Whoa, pretty shocking news, yeah? That's right. Research shows that actually looking at an iPad screen or a laptop screen or a TV screen do not interrupt your sleep quality. But the one little asterisk there is what can is the dopamine hits if you're spending all your time on things like TikTok or something that's really going to stimulate the body. And so in other words, it's as much, in my opinion, about what's on the screen. But the key finding is that the blue light coming out of that screen, it doesn't compromise sleep. So use your screens. It's absolutely fine. different than what we've been told, as long as you're being smart about what you're watching or what you're reading. All right, guys, I hope that helps. When you set up this practice, you've got a super chance of mostly good quality sleep and a baseline of energy and cognitive function to make the most out of your days. I hope that helps. If you'd like to learn more about sleep or Purple Patch, reach out, info@purplepatchfitness.com. But until next time, take care.